What is up, everyone? It's me, Jrod, the filmmaker, former film major, frequent fighting gamer from Philadelphia, and we're back with another episode of You Feel Me. Remember my last video where I said I was going to make a video more about The Last of Us Part 2? Well, this is that video, but it's also somehow about The Last Jedi, so spoiler warning for The Last of Us 2 and The Last Jedi. If you haven't seen any of those, go ahead and check out those stories and then come back when you're done and see what I thought. I know I already did a video about The Last Jedi, but yeah, this video is also just about reviews in general and any movie, show, or other story that has been reviewed, which in 2020, that's just about everything. You know, you can't make something these days without it getting reviewed by like Rotten Tomatoes or IGN or just guys on the internet like myself. So reviews are subjective for sure. It depends on what you're looking for when you go to see that film or that TV show. Some people just want to see something cool. That's me whenever I go see a Star Wars movie. Some people just want to feel something, and some people want to learn something new. And we all come into the movie wanting different things. So I can see how a bunch of different people will have different opinions of the same story. It all depends on what they want. The other thing that affects a review before you even see a film is expectation. Expectation based off of the actors or the directors, expectation based off of the franchise or a trailer you saw, or even expectations based off of a different review. One of my biggest pet peeves when theaters were still open would be someone going and looking at a review for a film before we've even had a chance to go in and see it. Because then you're sitting in the film, not giving it a proper chance, you're just waiting for it to confirm or deny how you already feel about it. And since I do film reviews every once in a while, you know, I'll never watch someone else's review before I do my own, because then that review will affect how I feel about the movie. Those people's thoughts will start to affect my own thoughts, for better or for worse. So reviews end up usually just being like a few bullet points just reiterated and regurgitated until they seem like they're universal points, right? And another formula for modern reviews is, oh, I like the film, but I didn't like this one plot point or this one character decision. If you would have changed that one thing, then I would have loved the film. I even am guilty of reviews like that in the past myself. This sort of thinking discredits the months or even years of work that a writer can put into a film to get it ready for production. A good writer will go through all possible scenarios, and there's nothing that an audience member will come up with that the writer hasn't already thought of. But they made what was the best decision, whether that's best decision for production, for the director, for the actors, for the studio, who knows. But they made what seemed like the best decision at the time. For example, with The Last Jedi, I really wish, and this is a spoiler, again, this is a spoiler, so spoiler alert, I really wish Luke didn't die. I mean, I would have rather have seen a movie that was pretty much the same where Luke didn't die. But I didn't write the film, so I didn't explore how that one plot decision change will change the entire film in the past, in the future, and the film itself and how it's perceived. If it was the same exact story but with the one change, then there'll probably be other plot holes and other decisions that don't make any sense. Then if you change the film to reflect this new alternative ending, then the film is going to have to change in multiple ways. It's probably going to have to change over and over again until it's unrecognizable. Then the audience finds something else that they dislike, and the entire process starts over again. Despite what audiences think, changing one plot point of a film is not as easy as just changing your answer on a multiple choice question. So we go into films with these expectations and this bias, but then we act as if our reviews are unbiased, as if somehow they are objective, when they really aren't. We act as if these audience reviews are like sacred and unbiased, but they're a manifestation of bias. Just look at this review for The Last of Us 2. Looks like he had a lot to say, you know? He put all his feelings out there. Then you scroll down and see that this same review is copied and pasted. I think that the people hurt most by this type of bias are women creators, women directors, or even just performers. Whenever a woman directs or leads a film, there's this group that loves to tank the reviews. They love to control the discussion, gatekeep, and basically steer away from anything productive. Then they also get to act as if their review is unbiased and it's objective when it's really not. The only difference, or the major difference, between The Last of Us 1 and The Last of Us 2 is the agency. The agency of characters like Ellie and also Abby, who she existed during the first game, but we didn't get to see her during the first game. The Last of Us 1 is heartwarming, but in the end, Joel makes the selfish choice. He lies about it and he avoids any repercussions. The most important decision in Ellie's life and the lives of a lot of other people, and she didn't even get to make it. So, if you thought that Joel was coming into this next game as a hero, you were tripping. You didn't read it right, because Joel wasn't the hero of the first story. He's not the hero of the second story. Ellie always was. Joel is actually the villain of the first game. Yes, I know, I said it. Joel is the villain of the first game. That might have blown your mind. That might be something you can't deal with. But we understood why Joel did what he did. He made that hard choice to protect the one person he loved, even if it meant dooming all of the rest of humanity. And we'll talk more about that later. With The Last of Us Part 2, we start off with the tragic loss. The loss of Joel, one of the most iconic characters in the series, and it's brutal, and it's sudden, and it leaves this void in the characters, but also in the player. And I think that is some brilliant writing, because you feel the loss of Joel as if it were real, and you have to deal with all of the emotions that come with it. It makes you sad, and it makes you angry. Some people aren't able to deal with it, so they just stop here. But some people carry on, deal with those emotions, and move forward. But if you can make it past this part, then you do get a couple chapters where you can use that rage and use that anger to motivate you to shoot and stab and kill your way through a bunch of people who seem insignificant. Although, if you think about it, the life of one human is not worth more than another one. So you're killing multiple people just to avenge the life of Joel, which, he's an important person to you. The loss makes you feel this void, and Ellie acts out thinking this is the only way that she can fill that void. And you do. You get closer and closer and closer to revenge, but right when you're closest, you get reset. You face another loss, not as bad, but it could have been, and you're set back to square one. And that is just another blow. You face this tragic loss, and then right when you're close enough to get revenge for it, you're set all the way back. And a lot of people can't deal with that. They can't get past this part. I mean, even if they made it past the loss, they got up all their feelings and kept moving on. They probably can't deal with another tragic loss, another L, another setback. But if you do, then you're going to get into the hardest part of the entire game. The chapter where you have to play as Abby, the person who took everything from you. And you have to try to empathize with her. A lot of people can't even get to this part because they don't like Abby. They don't want to like Abby. But this chapter is not about liking Abby. It's about understanding Abby. Because in this chapter, you understand that if the first game was about Abby, if she was the main character, then you would see her as the hero. And that void that Ellie has been feeling since Joel was gone, that she's been killing and stabbing and shooting her way to try to fill, that's the void that Abby has had to live with for years since Joel made that selfish choice in the first game, and she's even still dealing with it. So if there is no bias, then why do you empathize with Joel so easily for making the hard choices in The Last of Us 1, but you can't empathize with Abby for making those same hard decisions? You think that it's really hard to play as the villain in this game, but you played as the villain for the entire first game and had no problem with it. I mean, honestly, if this were Joel, if Joel was in Abby's shoes, he had to kill maybe Tommy or Dina or Jesse just to get closer to the person he loved and to keep them protected. He would have done it without a hesitation, and we would have never looked at him twice. We would have never second guessed it, because that's Joel and that's what he does. The Last of Us 2 doesn't just rehash the old game. It deals with the problems of the old game. It punishes the tough decisions of the old game, and it gives Ellie and Abby a sense of agency that they wouldn't have had in the old game. The Last of Us 2 is amazing, but some people just can't handle it because they can't deal with their own feelings of grief and of empathy. Stories don't just exist to make us happy with concepts and things that we're used to. Sometimes they have to make us sad and make us angry, and they have to challenge the way that we feel. The Last of Us 2 made millions of people angry, but those who were strong enough to stick with it will also feel challenged. You'll feel the courage to move on, but you'll also feel the guilt associated with it. You'll feel the loss, but you'll also feel the strength that you need to overcome it. You'll feel the chaos, and you'll feel the confusion, but you'll also feel that peace. And I think that no other narrative has been able to make one person feel such a spectrum of emotions in one story like The Last of Us 2. And that's why it is one of the greatest narratives of this decade, maybe of the last couple decades. My point is that although reviews have been boiled down to watching and reiterating the same points over and over again, there's so much more to narratives. It's not about reaffirming your beliefs or your prior expectations, so you should leave those expectations at the door and experience the narrative that was created, curated, and refined for you. I said all this to say that I will be doing a lot more reviews on my channel in 2021, but I don't want them to seem copy and pasted. I don't want them to seem like a list of plot points that I didn't like. Also, I'm not going to act like my reviews are completely objective and they're the only way that you can interpret a story, because they're not. My reviews reflect my experience and my worldview, and I'm going to celebrate that, but also the opinions and thoughts of others. So yeah, that's it. That's my review of reviews, but also my review of The Last of Us 2. As promised, going into a little deeper. So if I ever do any more reviews on this channel, which I said I will promise to put in the same amount of research and diligence and, actual dedication to reviewing what is great and bad about the story, what's problematic, even if it's hard to talk about or hard to deal with, and what's good and what should be celebrated, even if it's something that seems small and minute and minuscule. So yeah, guys, like, comment, subscribe, tell me how you felt about this video, how you felt about The Last of Us 2, or anything else you want me to review in the future. Tell me if you feel me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
This place, I don't understand what's happening.
Look, it's the star of the show.
I'm sorry?
Wanda.